Let's talk about some awesome knitting patterns that were released in June. Rochelle here, and I'm back to share some yarn goodness with y'all today. All right, so today we're going to be talking about new and free knitting patterns that were released this June. And we're going to talk about size inclusive garments, accessories, and patterns for the home. Now, all of these patterns are free, either as a download or free on the designer's blog. All right, let's get started with garments. The first one we have is the Belladonna Tee, designed by Alfalfa, probably saying that wrong, for Universal Yarns. Y'all know me and names by now, but of course I will leave all the patterns linked below. Okay, so this one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 40.5 to 72.5 inches. And in centimeters, that's 102.9 to 184.2. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You will need a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter, and a US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter. So, in terms of ease, this has 10.5 inches of positive ease. And in centimeters, that's 26.7. So, this pattern has a lot of ease in it, or at least a lot of ease for me. So, definitely make sure you choose the right size so it fits you the way that you want it to. Okay, so let's talk about the skills that you will need. It's quite a few. So, you will need to know how to knit 2 together, purl, slip knit, yarn over, slip knit 2 purl, which means it's SK2P, which means you slip 1 stitch as to knit, then you knit 2 stitches together, and you pass the slip stitch over the knit stitch. I know that sounds complicated, but basically you're just decreasing 2 stitches. So this t-shirt is knit flat in pieces from the bottom up. The shoulders are joined with a 3 needle bind off. Stitches are picked up for the armholes and the neck edging and worked in the round. And this pattern is both written and charted. So depending on how you like your patterns, this one has it both ways. Okay, so our next pattern is the Meris Tee, designed by Hannah Lubin for Herb Garden Knitwear. So this one calls for light fingering weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 30.25 to 64 inches. And in centimeters, that is 77 to 163. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You'll need a 2.5, which is a 3 millimeter, and you'll need a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter. So if small needles and really thin yarn don't bother you, this t-shirt would be great. And you will need 2 inches, or you'll need to calculate 2 inches or 5 centimeters of positive ease. So you want to calculate that into your knitting when you're choosing. Personally, I like between 2 to 4 inches of positive ease. So this one would be a really good one for me. But I don't know about that light fingering weight, y'all. Ooh, I don't know. So the skills that you will need include knit 2 together, purl, slip knit, and German short rows. All right, so as I always say, the great thing about these patterns being free is that I am able to download or look at the patterns so I can tell you all exactly how it's constructed. So, quoting from the pattern page, this tee is designed to be worked seamlessly from the top down. First, you cast on stitches for the neckband and shape the neckline with short rows. Next, you work a raglan yoke and split for the body and sleeves, casting on a few extra stitches at the underarm for an ideal fit. And finally, the body and the sleeves are worked in the round. And And so, yes, I really like this pattern, but I have to admit it's a little scandalous because it is see-through. So, hey, whatever you want to wear underneath it is between you and whatever wardrobe you have, but it's a little scandalous, yeah? But I like it. I think I would probably wear a tank top underneath it, but in the pattern she's wearing like a bra or bralette. So yeah, wear it however you want to wear it. Okay, so our next pattern is the Terzetto top. I practiced that one. The Terzetto top, designed by Renee Culling for Knitty Magazine. So this one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 30.25 to 62.25 inches. And in centimeters, that's 77 to 158. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You will need a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter. You will need a US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter. And this one has 0 inches and 0 centimeters of positive ease. So that's very interesting. It has like a true fit. And in terms of skills that you will need to know how to do the 3 needle bind off, the Kitchener stitch, and crochet button loop. So yeah, if you knit and crochet like me, you get to, dabble with crochet a little bit or learn how to crochet. So that's fun. And this is knit bottom up, and I like that it's bra friendly. Yes, I love that. I love a good bra friendly tank and that back detail. Oh, that back detail is beautiful. I love it. It kind of has like this diamond shape. It's stunning. Okay, so our next pattern is the Carousel Sweater, designed by Kate Harvey for Knitty Magazine. And this one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 31 to 62.75 inches, and that's 79 to 159.5 centimeters. So you will need a US 6 4 millimeter knitting needle and a US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter. It has 1.4 inches or 4 centimeters of positive ease, and you will need to know how to do the cable cast on, right twist, left twist, knit, purl, knit 2 together, knit 1 through the back loop, and center double decrease. This pullover is worked top down, starting with 2 small pieces for the saddles. Stitches are picked up for the front and the back and worked flat until joined in the round after the neck shaping. And then the body and the sleeves are completed in the round. And also, this pattern is great because it includes instructions for long sleeves and short sleeves. So if you want to make a sweater, you can. Or if you want to make a tee, you can. All in the same pattern. That's amazing. Our next pattern is the Solara Cami, designed by the Madeline Tosh design team. So this one calls for sport weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 32.75 to 72.75 inches. That's quite the size range. And in centimeters, that's 82 to 182. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes. You will need a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter, and a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter. This one has between 0 to 2 inches of positive ease, and in centimeters, that's 0 to 5. You will need to know how to knit through the back loop, knit 2 together, purl 2 together, slip, knit, slip, purl, work with the yarn in the back, and work with the yarn in the front. And so it is worked in the round from the bottom up to the underarm, and then integrated straps are worked in I-cord. So yeah, definitely check that one out. It's really warm, at least in the northern hemisphere, so this might be a nice little cami for you. And I was thinking about how I would wear this because it's not exactly bra friendly. I would probably wear like a cute little t-shirt underneath it. I don't know, let me know how you would wear it. Okay, so the next one we have is the Dania Cropped Sweater 2.0 Puna, designed by Amy Gunderson for Premier Yarns. So we're going to be talking about some warmer weather garments, but the thing is, a lot of people will knit their warmer weather garments during the summer, so they'll have them ready for the fall and winter. So this one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 34 to 66 inches, and that's 86.4 to 167.6 centimeters. You will need a US 6, which is a 4mm knitting needle. And the ease is not listed on the Ravelry page, and it wasn't listed in the pattern either. I couldn't find it. So, yeah, you might want to, I don't know. The thing is, it wasn't on Ravelry, and it wasn't in the pattern. So think about that when you're making this, that the ease is not listed, or maybe I just overlooked it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see it. But anyway, so in terms of the skills you will need knit, purl, pass, slip stitch over, yarn over, make one, and knit two together. So this sweater is knit sideways in one piece from sleeve to sleeve. A cable panel runs all the way from the beginning to the end, split down the middle to form the neck opening. I think the construction of this is so cool, and I really like it. All right, our next one is the Good Bones Sweater, designed by Michelle Porter for Knitting Magazine. So, in terms of yarn weight, you can hold 2 strands of fingering or 1 strand of worsted weight yarn. In terms of the bust circumference, it ranges between 30 to 66 inches, and that's 76 to 167.5 centimeters. You will need a US 7, which is a 4.5mm, and a US 6, which is a 4mm. This one has between 2 to 4 inches of positive ease, and centimeters, that's 5 to 10. So you will need to know how to knit, purl, knit two together, slip, slip, knit, slip, slip, purl, purl, make one left, make one right, German short rows, mattress stitch, and whip stitch. This garment is worked flat in pieces from the bottom up and then seamed. And then the collar stitches are picked up and worked in the round. Also, this pattern includes instructions for long sleeves and short sleeves. So this is one of those patterns that you could make a couple of times and it'll look different depending on the sleeves that you want to make. You can make one for the summer, you can make one for the winter. I just think that is so awesome. All right, our next pattern is the Verdant Path Cardigan, designed by Dania for Knitting Magazine. So this one calls for worsted weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 34.5 to 62 inches. And that is 87.5 to 157.5 centimeters. So you will need 2 knitting needles. You will need a US 3, which is a 3.5mm, and a US 5, which is a 3.75mm. So in terms of ease, on the Ravelry page and in the pattern, the designer says that the pattern has 2 inches, which is 8.5 centimeters of positive ease. And I was a little confused by that because 2 inches actually equals 5.08 centimeters. So I'm not sure if that's a typo or what. I know I have international viewers, so maybe you can explain why 2 inches would be 8.5 centimeters. I don't know, but like I said, 2 inches is actually 5.08 centimeters according to my research. So it could have just been like a little typo or something. So if you see that on Ravelry or in the pattern and you're one of my international viewers that use the metric system, you might see that and think, oh, what's going on? But anyway, just something to keep in mind that I found. All right, so in terms of skills, you will need to know how to do the alternating long tail cast on. I have never heard of that. I know how to do a long tail cast on, but alternating? I don't know how to do that. That would be a new skill for me. But also, you will need to know how to do the knitted cast on, intarsia, slip, slip, purl, knit two together, slip, 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 knit, slip, 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 purl, knit 2 together, make 1 right, and make 1 left. So this one has a set-in sleeve, no button. It's a V-neck cardigan that follows individual cables and stockinette stitch bands up the front of the cardigan to the neck. And then they are joined at the back of the neck to form a intricate cable pattern. Oh, the back is just amazing. And the individual cables follow their straight path as the intricate cable zigzags across them. I love how the designer wrote that. But y'all, that back cable is stunning. It's beautiful. I love it. All right, our next project or pattern is the Bianca Sweater 2.0 Warmi, designed by Amy Gunderson for Amano. So this one calls for Aran weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 40 to 64 inches, which is 101.6 to 162.6 centimeters. You will need a US 8, which is a 5 millimeter. Now, in terms of ease, it wasn't on the Ravelry page, and I couldn't find it in the pattern either. Maybe you can, but in my research, I couldn't find it. So just keep that in mind. And in terms of skills, you'll need to know how to knit, purl, use the slope method for binding off. Another new technique for me, purl 2 together, slip, slip, knit, and the tubular bind off. This sweater is knit in pieces from the bottom up and seamed. The sleeves are knit using 2 colors and the intarsia method of changing colors. And y'all, that two-tone color effect between, like, you know, in the picture it has like a white and then a beige in the back, but you could do any sort of color combinations. I just think that is beautiful. Okay, our next pattern is the Daydreamer Sweater, designed by Becca Leith of Knitting Nook for Expression Fiber Arts. This one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 33 to 65 inches, and that's 84 to 165 centimeters. You will need 2 knitting needle sizes. You'll need a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter, and a 2.5, which is a 3 millimeter. So it has 4 inches or 10 centimeters of positive ease, and it has quite a few skills, so buckle in. You will need to know how to knit, purl, long tail cast on, backwards loop cast on, German short rows, Italian bind off, knitting through the back loops, knitting 2 together, make 1 left, make 1 right, and purling through the back loop. Oh dear, purling through the back loop. I'm not sure if I've done that either. I don't know. Okay, so this pattern is knit top down in the round, starting from the neck ribbing. The ribbing is folded over itself to create a double layer look. So that's really cool. I've done a few double folded collars before, and they're really fun. And please note that this pattern is free for a limited time. So you might want to go ahead and download that pattern today because it is free for a limited time. Okay, next up we have the Freckle Sweater, designed by Duck Duck Knits. I really like that name. And it calls for Aran weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 39 to 69 inches, and in centimeters, that is 100 to 176. You will need a US 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter, and a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. In terms of ease, it ranges between 7.5 to 9.4 inches, and in centimeters, that's 19 to 24 centimeters of positive ease. Now, take note of this. I really like this about the pattern. So, the ease that I just mentioned is for the smaller sizes from 1 to 5. However, the higher the sizes go, the less there is of positive ease. And I think that's so important because as someone who, you know, I guess you say plus size, a lot of times when patterns have a lot of positive ease, I feel like they're kind of baggy. They don't really fit the best, and they don't look as good as someone in like a smaller frame wearing something that's oversized. It just looks different. So I love the fact that the designer adjusted the amount of positive ease for the larger sizes. And I really appreciate that the designer took the time to do that. Okay, so yeah, really great one. Yeah, is that all I wanted to say? Oh, I gotta tell you the skills. It's a lot. I'm gonna have to pull my notes a little bit closer for this one. Okay, long toe cast on, knit, purl, knit through the back loop, purl through the back loop, make one right, make one left, make one left purl, duplicate stitch, slip one stitch with yarn held in the back of the yarn, slip one stitch with the yarn held in the front, and backward loop cast on and crochet stitch edge. That's a lot. So this pattern is worked top down in the round. At least that part's easy. But you know, the thing about when it comes to all these skills and techniques that you need to know, there's always a YouTube video out there that can explain it. So, you know, don't let all of those skills intimidate you. Our next pattern is the Tommy sweater, designed by Charity Shell, and it calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 28 to 62 inches, and in terms of centimeters, that is 71 to 158. So you will need a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter, and a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. It has between 3 to 5 inches of positive ease, and that's 7.5 to 12.5 centimeters. You will need to know how to do the double stitch, knit, knit two together, make one left, make one right, make one left purl, make one right purl, and slip, slip, knit. And this is a top-down raglan construction with 3 bold jersey stripes and a mock turtleneck. So it's kind of sporty. I like that. All right, our next pattern is the Puzzle Pieces Sweater, designed by Amy Gunderson for Knitting Magazine. This one calls for Aran weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 34 to 66 inches, and that is 86.5 to 167.5 centimeters. You will need a US 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter knitting needle, and this one has 4 inches or 10 centimeters of positive ease. So you'll need to know a few skills. You'll need to know how to matcher stitch, crochet slip stitch, sloped bond off, knit, purl, slip one with the yarn in front, slip, slip, knit, and slip, slip, purl. This sweater is made in a modular fashion. Stitches are picked up from the previous sections and worked outward. Work begins with the right back and the right back sleeve. So that's really interesting. This pattern, when I was looking at it, I was trying to figure out how is it constructed. And even though I read the pattern and I read the construction notes, I was like, I still don't get it. I mean, it literally looks like puzzle pieces because each part of the sweater is different, and then you're seaming those together. It's just, I think it's so cool, and each panel is different. It really, like, I feel like the name is really true. It really is a puzzle piece of a sweater, and if you're someone that likes a nice, challenging project, definitely check this one out. Okay, let's move on to accessories. All right, the first accessory we have is the Cannon Clay Bandana, designed by Celeste Knitwear. So this one calls for sport weight yarn, and the finished size without the ties, the length is 42 centimeters. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm putting my centimeters before my inches. It's throwing me off. But 42 centimeters and 16.5 inches. And in terms of height, it's 22 centimeters or 8.75 inches. You can always kind of tell like where the designer is from, especially when they put the centimeters in front of the inches, because I'm used to it being the other way around. But anyway, you will need a 2.5, which is a 3 millimeter knitting needle. And you'll need to know how to knit, purl, knit 2 together, slip stitch with the yarn in front, slip slip knit, and yarn over. All right, so let's talk about this construction. Got to bring my notes close. It features the staggered eyelet stitch, which consists of yarn overs and right-leaning decreases. The bandana is knit back and forth. It starts from the bottom edge and grows with increases on the right side. You can easily modify your bandana by adding or subtracting repeats. The bandana is tied or designed to be tied at the back of your head with I-cord ties. So yes, that explains the construction of that bandana. So if you got all of that, you can definitely make this bandana. I think it is really nice. I've been really getting into bandanas lately. I knit and I crochet. So if you've seen some of my other videos, I have been crocheting bandanas this year and I think they are great. So I would love to knit one as well. All right, let's go to our next accessory, and it is the Kamilo Bag, designed by Louise and Petit L'Atelier de Louvre Knits. Yeah, I speak French. But anyway, it calls for fingering weight yarn, and the finished size in terms of the height is 6.75 inches, which is 17 centimeters. And the width is 10.5 or 10.25 inches, which is 26 centimeters. It calls for a US 4, 3.5 millimeter. And you'll need to know how to do the long tail cast on, center double decrease, knit, knit 2 together, purl, slip slip knit, and yarn over. It is worked seamlessly from the top down and in the round in a simple lace pattern. The bottom is then shaped with stockinette stitch and decreases on the sides. The zipper and a lining are sewn into the bag, and a strap can be attached with snap hooks or directly sewn onto the bag. I really like how it has options on what you can do with the straps, because sometimes when you're making your own bag, you want to make sure that the handles don't pull and stretch over time. So I really like that. And I don't think I've ever knitted a bag before. I've crocheted a bag, but I've never knitted one. And I really like this one. I think that's really pretty. Okay, the next accessory we have is the Country Road Bandana, designed by Celeste Knitwear. It calls for sport weight yarn, and the finished size without the ties in terms of length is 19.25 inches or 49 centimeters, and the height is 8.5 inches or 21.5 centimeters. You will need a US 2.5, which is a 3 millimeter knitting needle. In terms of the skills you'll need, it mentioned a central stitch, knit, knit 2 together, purl, slip slip knit, and yarn over. So one thing about this designer is when it comes to describing the construction, it's quite elaborate, and I love reading these. But the design features a simple eyelet stitch, which consists of yarn overs and right leaning and left leaning decreases. The bandana is knit back and forth. It starts from the bottom edge and grows with increases to the right side. The first and last 2 stitches form an I-cord edging, which makes the edges look neat and prevents them from curling. And so it also has I-cord ties. So I really like that the designer thought about the fact that it may curl, and then she put some designed elements in there to help it stay flat, because you don't want your bandana curling up on you. You kind of want it to stay flat to your hair. So I really like that. Okay, let's talk about another accessory. The Zinnia Bag, designed by DIY Bronzy. So this one calls for 2 strands of DK or, 2 strands of DK and fingering, or 1 strand of Aran weight yarn. The finished size is 8.5 by 10.5 inches, and that's 21.6 by 26.7 centimeters. You will need a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter, and you'll need to know a few skills, which include knit, purl, make 1 right, make 1 left, knit 2 together, and slip, slip, knit. So it is made by knitting the front and back sides flat and sewing them together using an applied I-cord edge. And then you attach the I-cord strap. So lots of I-cord today. If you want to practice some I-cord, definitely check out these patterns. Let's talk about patterns for the home. The first one we have are the handmade hand towels designed by Gianna Mueller for Pearl Soho. Pearl Soho has some really good patterns, y'all. This calls for DK weight yarn, and the finished size is 17.25 inches wide and 24.5 inches long, and that's 43.8 by 62.2 centimeters. You will need a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter knitting needle. And in terms of skills, you'll need to know how to do the long toe cast on, knit, purl, work an I-cord. There goes I-cord again. Knit 2 together and pass stitches. You will need to knit these towels lengthwise, casting on for the long edge. And I also love that fabric that the seed stitch makes. I mean, you're just using knits and purls, but the seed stitch has a really nice texture. And especially for things you're going to be using in the kitchen or around the house, it really it grits dirt or whatever you're trying to clean up. And also, I like the little I-cord loop, which makes it really easy for hanging things. All right, let's talk about another pattern for the home. It is the Hunter Hot Water Bottle designed by Emma Munn of Emma Knitty. This one calls for 2 strands of lace and Aran or 1 strand of Aran weight yarn. It fits a standard hot water bottle, which is approximately 13 by 8 inches in length and 7.8 inches in width. And in centimeters, that is 35 by 20. So you'll need 2 knitting needles. You'll need a US 8, which is a 5 millimeter, and a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter. You'll need to know how to knit, purl, knit front and back, and knit color work. Also, it is worked seamlessly in the round from the top down. All right, so those are the amazing free patterns that I found, but let's talk about what I am wearing. I am wearing the Driftwood cowl designed by Ashley Lillis. And so I have made an entire video about this cowl, and I will definitely leave that in the description, I'll leave it somewhere below. But if you want to check this out, it is beautiful. Look at that garter stitch. I love it. And then the thing about it is, let me turn it around. It is shorter in the back, and then it is longer in the front. And I love that. It's amazing. And depending on the yarn that you use, this part could actually stand up a little bit. I used a very soft yarn, and check out my Ravelry page, which has the video link in it as well, to see what yarn I use and the needles and all that good stuff. All right, so tell me, what were your favorite patterns from today? Had you seen any of these? Do you want to try any of these? Definitely let me know. And also, go check out my crochet roundup video. In fact, let's do a little sneak peek right here. Let's talk about some awesome crochet patterns that were released this June. So if you're someone that does not enjoy seaming your projects together, this is a really good t-shirt for you. If you're looking for a challenge, I definitely would recommend this pattern. And if you make it, let me know. I have never done mosaic crochet before, but I would really like to learn. And this pattern would be so great right now. The World Cup is going on, and so this would be great for the soccer fans in your life, or if you're into the World Cup and all that good stuff. All right, so I hope you enjoy that. If you knit and crochet, let me know. If you just do one or the other, also let me know that too. And are you interested in learning the other craft? I would love to know. All right, also let me know what you worked on while watching, or did you just chill? I would love to know. I love reading you all's comments. Also, feel free to click that like button, the notification bell, and the subscribe button. And also, apparently, there's this new thing called hype. So if you want to hype up this video, I would really appreciate that. All right, so thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, Bye. Coda. Coda's sleep. Yeah, no Coda today.